Before we go on to Module 4, let's take a look at the outputs we've produced. In this last stage, we had the production calculations that we saved as a CSV file and as a shape file. Now, the location where I saved those was in the home folder, INAHOR, data, area, output, where we get some files, like this trial 1 TIFF file that comes here from INAHOR itself. This location, though, however, isn't all that convenient if we want to actually use the software for looking at the CSV file or the shape files, which is going to be OpenOffice and QGIS. So let's do this right now. I've got this folder open where we save the INAHOR data area output. I'm also going to open this Windows INAHOR link. So this, remember, this one goes directly to our Windows system. And we've got the input data where we've been taking the images from and the boundary files from. We're going to use these other ones very shortly. Well, we also have this output data section. So inside here, I'd like you to go over to this part, select all of these. So I'm left clicking and dragging. And then I'm going to also left click and just bring them over here and drop them in. If that doesn't work for you, you can always left click, drag them all, right click and say, where is it, copy, and then come over here and right click and say paste. Many ways of doing it, however it works for you. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go to the Windows side. I'm going to go back to Windows, so hold on a second. Back on the Windows side, let's go to the place where we just saved those files. So INAHOR-AD version 3.4 is where I have mine, inside data, Windows INAHOR, and then output data. We've got a number of files here. One of interest is this trial1.csv. We're going to be opening this up in a few minutes in a spreadsheet. We've also got a TIFF file, which is one of the images that we saved in the INAHOR work. We have two other log files, which are CSV files. We're not interested in these right now. And then I would like to call your attention to this set of 4 files, which comprises what's known as a shape file, which is a vector file that's used in the GIS program to look and examine the data. We'll also be using this in a little bit. So, but don't be confused that when you see shape file, SHP, you might think it's just this one, but actually it's a set of 4 files that makes a shape file. Let's go to trial1.csv. If you've got Excel installed on your system, that's fine. You can use that. For those of you who don't have that, we have provided the OpenOffice link and installation in Module 2. I'm going to be using OpenOffice 2 for this. So let me just double click on this. And OpenOffice 4 starts. You should get a menu here that comes up for the import settings. What we need to do, and your menu may say something more like this as a default. I can't remember what my default was, but this is a comma separated file. And if we don't use commas to separate the various items into columns, then we won't get the right looking spreadsheet, or the spreadsheet data will be in the wrong order in the wrong columns. The rows should be fine. So make sure you have comma selected here and then say OK. And it should open into a spreadsheet. And here's what we have. To make this easy, on the top row, we have the titles of the columns. I'd like to freeze that. So I'm going to click right here and go to Data, go to Window, Freeze. And then if I scroll down, you'll see that that top row stays on the top. And what we're interested in here are a few things. There is, of course, the scrolling over this way. We've got the harvest acreage, the growing acreage and the planting acreage. This is the INAHOR estimate based on the various Palisar 2 images that we provided, as well as the target date information. And then we also have, scrolling over one more column, we have harvest production, rice production, growing production, and planting production. So let's find some tallies, or let's make some tallies of these total estimates. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here of these columns. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so row 851. And then for this first column, the harvest acreage, I'm going to input equal, and then SUM, and then a parenthesis, and then I'm going to click on this cell right here, and then I'm going to drag up, holding my left mouse in, going all the way to the top here. And then I'm going to stop right here at the top data point, and then hit return. And what that will do is create a formula. You could, of course, type this in, sum parenthesis I2 colon I850, and that will sum up all the values in here. So the total acreage that is that has been harvested according to INAHOR in this case is 119,000 hectares. I'm going to also go here and say copy, right click and copy, and right here, right click and paste. And that will get the same formula, but for this column. And to save a little bit more time, I'm going to spread this out like this by dragging and then pasting in all of these. So that's just basic fundamental Excel work that you probably know from your other jobs that you've been doing. And so here's the total acreage will be these three summed up, and the total production value will be these three summed up. So let's make some calculations on that. I say equals sum right here, and then I'm going to drag for these three, hit enter. I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to go right here and paste. So this will be the total value for the acreage that's under cultivation, either been harvested or it's in growing or it's in the planting stage. And then here we've got the total amount of production. So this is the interesting part here. So 1.37 million tons. Is that a good number or not? This is something that we're going to be exploring in Module 4, where we actually have the on-the-ground surveys that let us know exactly how good of a number this is. And that's going to help us with tuning the threshold values and other things inside INAHOR. One thing before we finish here, let me minimize this. Let's open this shapefile up in QGIS. And when I said shapefile, I meant these four, of course. So I'm going to start QGIS. If you don't have it here on your dock down on the bottom, you can, of course, go to the Start menu and open it up. But please start QGIS. Now, once QGIS is open, I'd like you to go to this icon right here, which is the Add Vector layer. Now, even if you've never used QGIS before, and preferably if you've never used QGIS before, this is a good introduction to how to do it, at least one of the basic commands that we need. So click on here, Add Vector layer, and then let's browse to that shapefile that we want to add. So click Browse, and mine is already coming up to this output data folder, and then click on the SHP extension file and say open, and open. And it will bring in the province and sub-province boundaries that are part of our target area in the Philippines. Now, looking at this right now, each boundary has the same color. It's really not very interesting, right? Oh, the boundaries themselves are important. But what we'd like to do is actually show, let's say, the rice production per, I forget the name of the municipalities or whatever these sub-province boundaries are called. And to do that, let's go here to the trial area here. We can right click, and first let's take a look at the attribute table. This is sort of a database which is appended, which is part of the spatial database that has information basically from the INAHOR output that we had made. So we have locations. These are both in terms of the titles or the names of the places, as well as the actual polygons that are located within here. And each of those has, various values. So for example, the acreages, the productions that we just looked at, that's basically the same data as we have in the CSV file, although this is in a spatial form. And close that, and then right click here on properties. And when you do that, you should get a window like this that comes up, and I'd like you to go to Style. And what we'd like to do is change the way that this data is stylized. Right now it's a single symbol for all of the different rows in that database. Instead of that, let's go to graduated. And we can choose the data that's used to display this. So go to the column that we want to use. Let's go to harvest production. So how much rice has actually been harvested so far according to INAHOR. So if we go to that, and if over here we choose a color ramp, let's say greens, that should be good. So light green means little, dark green means a lot. That seems like a good color. And down here we can also choose some different settings for the way the data will be displayed. Right now we can stick with equal interval, say classify, and then QGIS will give you 5 different breaks of the histogram of that data. And if you say apply, and if you move this over here just to see it, okay, what are we looking at here? That means that these areas here had the most production, at least the most harvested amount so far. These other areas, it's not so clear. This is not really a very good way of showing it. So let's do this. Let's go to the mode and let's choose natural breaks. This allows us to fit the histogram a little bit better in terms of the display. Say apply, and you get a little bit better idea that, okay, it seems to have more production in these areas than in these smaller areas. But when you think about it, that's really natural, right? This is a very large area. So even if you had just a little bit of amount produced here, the amount produced would be much more than in, let's say, this very small little area right here. So a little bit more advanced topic is to create an expression here. Let's say we want to know the per unit area production. Now, the column that we have in the spreadsheet is just simply the production for the given polygon. What we can do is create an expression. So I'm going to click on this E, and then it'll take us over here. And all you have to do is just click right here and just click on this division operator. And then what we'd like to do is divide by area of the target polygon. So you can either type that in yourself or toggle this geometry one on and then double click this string area, which is the area of the current feature. And then you can say OK. And then once we have this expression in place, if you say apply and OK, so what happened? This doesn't look good at all. Let's go to properties. And then for here, what we need to do is reclassify. That's an important thing. QGIS does not automatically update this for you. So if you click on classify, that'll get more the appropriate levels there. Say apply, and then move this to the side. Okay, now we've got something interesting. We see that there's certain areas per unit area, there's certain regions per unit area that have really produced more rice than others. And there's various reasons for that, and we'll be exploring that when we get into Module 4. This is a very quick introduction to QGIS. There's a lot more coming, so I hope you enjoy this and see the potential of what we can be doing. And remember, the main thing in Module 4 is that we're going to be looking at the outputs that we've produced here and seeing how they actually match field data and how we're going to have to change some of the threshold values and other things in INAHOR to get better estimates.